Hi everyone, long time no see. It's Souljah Yamani, and I'm here to talk about a book that I read more than 20 years ago, but I couldn't remember anything about it now. So I wanted to reread it. It's called No Disrespect by Sister Souljah. If you're not familiar with Sister Souljah, she was a rapper from the 90s. She's probably best known for her novel, The Coldest Winter Ever. She writes in the urban literature genre. So, I read this more than 20 years ago as well. I really liked it. I recently found this. It's a spin-off of The Coldest Winter Ever, but I've never read it. I just recently found out that it existed. So I need to read both of those. And the reason why I want to reread these is because Sister Souljah came out with a new book. It literally came out days ago. It's the most anticipated book of 2021, in my opinion. So I plan on rereading and reading these. I'm going to reread The Coldest Winter Ever. I remember I really liked it when I read it many years ago. However, my concern is, now that I'm into nonfiction, I don't know if I've outgrown this genre or that book, so we'll see. Now, this isn't part of that series, but I just wanted to make it a Sister Souljah theme because I remember that I liked that book as well. Just couldn't remember the details about it. So I am going to talk about No Disrespect first so that I can remember the details. That book was written in 1994, and she says that she wrote that book for parents, teachers, counselors, lawmakers, things like that, so that people can really understand what the youth is really going through and dealing with. So the overarching theme of that book is relationships. She says that the youth don't really have a model for how to be a parent, how to be a spouse, because parents don't really talk to their kids about these real life issues. Some issues might be taboo that the family is dealing with, such as drugs, sex, or domestic violence, things like that, things that affect the household, the family. So she says a lot of those taboo topics kind of keep parents from helping their kids navigate through life and being that model. So No Disrespect has 7 chapters, 7 different characters. Each chapter is about a different character. She says they're based on real characters, they're real events. She starts off with her relationship with her mom, and her mom being her model. Her parents were married, but when they divorced, being in a single parent household and single income household, the mom and the kids had to move to the projects. So she talks about adjusting to life in the projects, and she makes observations about living in the projects, such as there were a lot of men around the neighborhood. There's a lot of men in the neighborhood working on cars, standing on the street corners, doing whatever. But there's not a lot of fathers in the homes. She says that the men were like rentals because their presence was so short term, and the people in the projects kind of recycled through the same men. So she talks about the gradual decline of respect that she has for her mom. I mean, I don't know. Her mom had to get on welfare, so she talks about how welfare doesn't really encourage family. It doesn't help people get into a livable wage. It just kind of hinders people. It keeps them above water, but it also hinders people because they want to give you like $300 a month, but somehow you're supposed to rise out of poverty. So the premise of the book, she says, is when parents don't talk about real life issues and experiences, then uninformed girls and boys become uninformed women and men, and both are unable to build healthy relationships. I think that's really interesting. The book is full of stories that are full of drama. It's sexually explicit sometimes. You know, when you watch Stars or Showtime, you know, and they have all of those ratings, like a warning, like this show contains violence and nudity and sexual content. When I see all of those, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. So anyways, that's how this book was. It's just about the various relationships that she's had in her life, like from her mom, a roommate she had, love interests, things like that. She is a college student during the time of the book, and she's like an activist. She touches on colorism, a little bit on domestic violence, sex abuse, welfare, the projects, and hotels, how some families were living in hotels. There was some program where instead of living in the projects or something like that, they would put families into hotel rooms. So she talks a little bit about that. So when she first moves into the projects, she talks about how it was really dangerous. Like the wrong turn could, you could end up raped or you could end up dead. She had to become more street smart. She talked about how people in the projects had a day-to-day mindset. Like, when you're trying to survive, you can't really plan for the future. She said no one owned a bank account, no one owned a car or a home. The only thing that you could really buy on a dead-end budget is clothing. So the different characters that she talked about, she talks about her mom, she talks about a love interest that she had in college. His name was Nathan. So he was a closeted gay man. I'm not sure if he was considered himself gay, but he was dealing with some sexuality issues. She said that he was really dark at first. I don't understand. She said that she likes dark-skinned men, but then she says he was too dark. So that's where the colorism kind of comes in. I don't get it because Sister Souljah is not that light herself. The darker you are, it's like you become invisible or something, or people don't even look at the rest of your features. But she said when she really took a good look at him, she thought that he was attractive, and what she really fell in love with was that he seemed really intellectual, and he would always have like these debates in his dorm room with his friends. They'd talk about politics, things like that. And the next person that she talks about is Nikki, who was promiscuous and manipulative, and she dated a lot of men. And another one was a married man, Joseph. One was Mona, an openly gay friend. She was an engineering major. They were college roommates. Chance, oh, that was probably the craziest chapter to me. Like, I thought there was like a surprise at the end. I don't know. Some of them are really intense stories. Another one is about Derek. Where she talks about like polygamy. She was willing to date somebody who was married to somebody else or who had another girlfriend. And I don't know, she's talking about how polygamy is practiced in other societies. And it's like, but we're not in those societies, we're in this society. I don't know. So in the epilogue, Sister Souljah ties everything together, and she tries to be like a big sister giving advice and wrap it all together for you. She says not to be desperate, don't date married men no matter what they say. Sex can be fun, but it can be dangerous too. She says society teaches people to look at women in like a very sexualized way or a very superficial way. In her opinion, people should look at women as, well, would she be a good mom, a good wife or whatever. I mean, it's not like you have to, if you're a woman, it's not like you have to be a wife or be a mom. But I think she's saying that if you get a woman pregnant, you know, you should really think about if you want that to be your baby mama, you know. So some of the topics that came up for me in the book were, she calls African Americans Africans in America. So I was wondering what you all think about that. Given that the book was written in the 90s, it makes sense just because, you know, that's when people were trying to associate more with their African roots. But then I was wondering, you know, like, well, at what point do you become American, you know? But I mean, I feel like there's argument for either one. Also, I see her point because, you know, ethnically, the ethnicity of Black Americans is African. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying it doesn't really matter to me what somebody wants to be called, but I'm just saying, you know, people do have different preferences. And it's interesting, the thought process behind it. Also, in the foreword, she says that slavery is the major reason for the breakdown of the Black American family. And so I've heard different points of views on that. Some say it's poverty, some say it's slavery, some say it's compounding effects. So I thought that was interesting as well. Same-sex relationships. She had 2 examples of same-sex relationships in the book. One of them was a love interest of hers, and one of them was her college roommate. So I'm not sure what she was trying to say with these. One of them, her love interest in college, the one that was very intellectual and would have political debates, social and political debates with other college students. He kind of ran away from her, a relationship with her, and he said it was because I guess he was molested as a kid. And the person, the man, the older man that told him when he was younger that he was good looking, and he gave him all this positive attention, and so he liked that attention, and it just went down a bad path. But so he says that kind of, using his terminology, perverted his sexuality. But he was kind of like fighting that. He didn't want to be gay, I guess. It makes sense what he's saying, but at the same time, some of these ideas around homosexuality feels kind of outdated and cliche. For instance, her college roommate, who was a woman, she was also gay, and Sister Souljah would just keep saying, like, somebody hurt you, you seem bitter, did a man hurt you? And now you're running towards a woman. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe there's different reasons why people get into same-sex relationships. Maybe those are some of the reasons, but for such a sensitive topic, to just use those two examples, didn't really sit well with me. In the end, she tries to kind of clean it up and just kind of say, well, just know if you're going to be in a same-sex relationship that there's also going to be problems in your relationship, I don't know. That's the one thing that didn't really sit right with me. What I thought was interesting about the book, though, when she was talking about her college years, and she really was into Nathan, and they were having debates, and she was reading these like social political books. Some of the books that were mentioned in the book, I wanted to take note, because why not get a free college education, right? Institutional Racism in America, Miseducation of the Negro, Black Bourgeoisie, which for some reason, I'm fascinated with that. Canterbury Tales. She said she hated reading that book. She had to read it for class, but she wanted to read all of these other books. The Pawns in the Game, The Question of Palestine, The Holy Quran, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, Invisible Man, and Native Son. Sounds like a really good book list. I'm going to make like a Sister Souljah book list. So that's all I have about No Disrespect. If you've read it, let me know what you think. Thanks for joining. Bye.